add that little badge to my email and a little certificate to my office. Welcome back to This Is Here, a podcast about unique educational experiences. I am Adam Schechter, the technology coach at John R. Lewis High School, recently ISTE certified educator, so that's kind of a fun thing to point out. I did complete my ISTE certification, and we are part of a cohort here at Lewis High School, and ISTE has been brought into Fairfax County, and I was able to be part of that cohort and submit my portfolio, so very exciting to be a ISTE certified educator, add that little badge to my email and a little certificate to my office. So just figured I would share. So I do have two topics for the show today. I want to talk about an experience that I had with a few of my students going to the University of Maryland to an event called FaceTime with the Pros that was sponsored by the Capital Region Emmy Awards. So they put on an event where they had regional reporters, producers, and other professionals from this area come and give workshops and just speak mostly with college students, but also high schoolers about elements of storytelling, podcasting, the use of AI, giving them sort of a lay of the land when it comes to landing your first job in media. And it was a fascinating experience. And I also want to talk a little bit about Google Vids, which is a new product from Google that's available through the Google Workspace Enterprise for education or professional workspace. I know we have it since we do have the professional level Google here at FCPS. So we've been playing around with Google Vids quite a bit. I just made a tutorial on it for my staff, and I just wanted to share some thoughts about how that fit in with Canva or Adobe Express, maybe even WeVideo, kind of compare and contrast. It's actually a topic I want to fully develop into a training or a presentation upcoming, maybe for VISTE or ISTE one of these days, or at least amongst my staff and some of the teachers here in the county. So want to talk about that. So let's go first with FaceTime with the Pros. That was held on March 8th at the University of Maryland at the Merrill School of Journalism. And it's funny to go there and be like, look at their wall of fame and see people like Connie Chung up there, and my students are like, who's that? And I'm like, I remember, you feel old. But yes, this is the second time that we went to this event, and I do want to give a shout out to the Capital Emmys crew who put this together, their education team. My students definitely had a great experience being part of it and attending the workshop. So I was able to take two, one of whom is my current executive producer for Lancer Media, which is the news organization here. She got a lot out of it, I think, not just from a workshop vantage, but also from making connections and meeting with reporters. She recently applied to what's called JCamp, which is run by the Asian American Student Association. And one of the organizers and presenters there was also at FaceTime with the Pros. And so to be able to introduce herself, and then also having my student went and meet with Leanna Golden, who's a reporter at Channel 7, the ABC affiliate over here in the Washington, D.C. area, and kind of talk about storytelling, like pick her brain a little bit about reporting, but then also invite her to come to our TV studio sometime. So we're hoping to make that happen as well. But yes, in general, it's a fantastic event. Just to have students kind of learn more about the professional world, really hear from the industry leaders about what they're looking for, not just in a reporter, but like some of the qualities they're looking for. And I thought that was pretty big. Whether it's like a willingness to learn, they kind of emphasize that over time, the flexibility, sort of, taking a job that's available to you and making the most of it. And, these are all skills that we're trying to impart on our students at the high school level, but having them hear it from people who are making hiring decisions about like, this is really important for your future. I think that really hits on a different feel for them. So just having that opportunity was awesome. And then some of the sessions as well, like they were very inspiring for me, not just as an educator, but someone who advises a news show. So whether it's about AI, and I know that AI has been a very hot topic around for last few months, last year or so in education, but to hear from somebody give a presentation from PBS and talk about like, what is PBS's stance on AI and how does that jive with their ethics and standards as it is right now. And so hearing about like it's good for thought generation, it's great for organization, kind of thinking about ideas, but definitely not having AI generated copy, script, that sort of stuff, and making their news show. Though I did find it interesting. They said that they were looking at uses of AI for things like B-roll or other graphics that they could include as long as it was clearly marked. And another thing that they're looking into, and they've probably used a time or two, is about anonymizing interviews. So if they're speaking with somebody who doesn't want their face or their voice to be revealed, that they're using like character generation from AI to kind of give that more life, so that the viewer gets a little more like of a human experience. Even though you're using AI, it's like it's a little more human than just looking at somebody that's lit in the shadows, like you have the dark shadows all over them, and you can't understand necessarily, like you can't recognize their voice because it's all like kind of gargled. So I thought that was like fascinating. And of course, next year when things in AI change and shift, because that always is happening, you'll get even more of an expertise. Like, okay, so now a year later, like that session will never not be relevant because AI is going to keep growing and changing. And so what's presented to students this year, you'll have to see next year, like what has been happening since and like how are media companies adapting to it. So I thought that was a interesting thing. And some of the visual storytelling workshops, just seeing some of the reporters and the photojournalists and watching like what they've done and then kind of take you back through their process was very powerful. And I kind of, it sort of dovetails with talking with a news director directly and showing a piece that we had done here at Lancer Media, which I thought was great. And I was like, yeah, I want to submit this for awards. And he watched it, and it wasn't very long before he sort of paused the video and laid out all of these ways for this piece to tell more of a story, to be more human driven, and not just simply like a series of interviews strung together. Like how would the reporter, the student who worked on it, who did a lot of work, like it took a lot of effort just to make the piece as much as it was, but what else could she have done? So kind of take us into the world of the person she's interviewing. So for example, this was about a toy drive that my student has been a volunteer for a number of years, right? Her whole family has been volunteering, and the toy drive has been going on for about 20, 25 years. And so we went and took a camera down to this firehouse where they hold this toy drive every year. And so she was able to interview the founder. She was able to interview some other people around. And what he was telling me is like, well, if we were doing the story professionally, when the creator of this toy drive was speaking about some of the areas or seeing, say, some of like the homeless being around these hotels, like visually you're thinking, get a camera to these places, like really show it for the viewers while he's telling a story. So not necessarily just have video of him just talking, right? How are you able to kind of show that on your program too? And so thinking about that and thinking of some of the camera techniques and like changing angles, like that was something that I never really thought about much. But one of the photographers that we had met said, look, I go and I'm recording a shoot and I'm going to take my camera and I'm going to move it. And I'm going to ask a few questions. Like if I'm doing, a photo essay, let's say, and I'm the one asking the people questions, and I'm not necessarily on camera myself as a photo essay, but what I'm going through with the people I'm talking to, I'm saying, hey, I'm going to go and interview you at different angles. I'm going to go and ask you a few questions. Then I'm going to shift my camera around and highlight something else and then ask you different questions, like just using that to piece it together. And I was like, we could do that too. And he said, look, and we saw it in his work. He's like, I will go and get really up close with the camera, right? Like just really almost absurdly close, like to really profile somebody to the point where you can see the imperfections, like going in and just adding different layers to that. So speaking of layers, having a session with Sean Martinelli, who is working at the Channel 9, the CBS affiliate here in the DC area, him showing us a story that he had done about a man that's in our neighboring county, Loudoun, who's working at a rec center, but is also a Rubik's Cube savant, his story and what he had gone through. And what Sean had mentioned is about the layering of your story and how when you're thinking about these pieces, particularly ones that you're producing for local news, you're trying to keep the viewer in and you are trying to like surprise them. Right. So you're not revealing all of your cards at once, let's say, that when you look back at the story, there's several different layers to it. And that was something for me kind of interesting. I'm kind of taking all this together and thinking about my own news show. And, and I had actually asked Liana as a reporter, I was like, my students here are reluctant to get on camera. They're reluctant to anchor. It's very difficult to get them to be on camera. And as much as I understand that it's not comfortable. It's not something that comes easily to people. Even myself, like I did a tutorial with Google Vids and I recorded myself on video. It's like, I don't necessarily like to do that myself. My voice, sure. But even that took a long time to be comfortable with my recorded voice and editing it, right? And video is like a whole new world on top of that. And because you're really seeing a lot of your insecurities. You're like looking at yourself very critically, and and of course at the high school, when you're putting yourself out there on video as an anchor or reporter, you have a lot of people supporting you and like, oh, that was great. But of course there's always downsides, right? And there's always, unfortunately, students that are not as receptive to you on video. So it's like kind of dealing with that. But yeah, like thinking about like, what is a student story, and sort of exercises that she was talking about where we just want to work on camera comfort. And so we're going to go and think about something that students are really interested in and just interview them about that, like on camera, right? Like work on practicing with each other. So just having that as part of it. But no, I love the idea of visual storytelling, and I would love to bring that to more projects that I do here as something that students can work on, where maybe they could do a project where the end result is sort of a news magazine style story that tells their story, but also includes like acting like a reporter, like having a script that sort of weaves through some of the clips and other footage that they're gathering. You're adding like natural sound, you're adding sound effects, music. So all of these things. And yes, I know it takes a long time and all of that, and we're just sort of getting started, but I'm confident that there are certainly things that we could do as educators to allow for students to have that space, whether it's access to editing programs, whether it's access to like script writing, whether it's even using AI here or there to have students like generate ideas that they may not have considered, or creating a list of things that they could follow up with. So I think all of those are certainly strong possibilities. But like I said, it was a great event and I enjoyed being part of FaceTime with the pros. And next year, again, I hope to bring a group of students with me to similarly get inspired. So, all right. So the other major topic I was thinking about for this show is about Google Vids. And I will link below my tutorial video about Google Vids and give you some of the thoughts about like, where does it fit? So one thing that's great about Google Vids is that it's very Google-y. And so the interface is pretty familiar. Like it's Google Slides and video, essentially. So if you've done Google Slides, you can put that together in a vid and go crazy. In fact, Google Vids will accept Google Slides. Like you can copy a Google slide that you've made and then paste it in a Google Vid and manipulate it, change the text, work on animations, like that sort of stuff. So Google Vids generally works in scenes. It's got about a 10-minute time limit, and it's great for presentations. I think it's great for sharing information. Something like teacher tutorials, it would be also great at. Introduction videos or interviews. I think Google Vids would be a really nice product to use, like a sample news show or stuff like that. It does have the ability to record directly off your camera. It has the ability to record with a screen, like both. So if you want to do something where you're sort of the narrator in a Google Vid, and you have like yourself sort of in like a smaller window while you have like a larger screen behind you and you're kind of going through it as a screen share. It could do that, and also can do just simple voiceovers. So I thought that was kind of fun. That's not too dissimilar from something like Canva or Adobe Express. They can capture audio and video, just like that. So that's not really too much of a killer feature. Something it does do, which is unique to Google Vids, is it can act as a teleprompter where you can input a script for your scene. And then when you go to record, that script can be superimposed like over your eyeline in the video. So it looks like, much like a teleprompter, you are reading a script, but also kind of looking into the camera as you do it, much like a news anchor would. And I think that has a ton of possibility. We did a project in our multilingual learners classes here where students had to introduce themselves and they had to go and put like parts of a script together, and they use our TV studio to do that. With Google Vids, they can just do this on their own and work on their video and record it all at the same time, instead of what they did here, which was record them individually. Now, I know that they did that as, sort of the uniqueness of it, or sort of the novelty of coming down to the TV studio and recording and seeing a different part of the building. So yes, that's why you would go and use our TV studio. But in your own classes, you can use this service by yourself or having students go out, to a hallway or somewhere else to record. And the recording interface is pretty simple. It's actually not too bad. One of the other killer features of Google Vids is a template function. So it does come with templates already. You can start with a blank vid scene if you wish, but you can also do templates from many different styles. And they already have kind of pre-baked animations into them. And they have videos that are already like embedded as sort of dummy reels that you can simply replace with your own video, stock video, like all that kind of stuff, and add it in there. And I thought that was actually kind of a neat thing with Vids. So you can record yourself, you can add your own uploaded video off a phone or other camera. You can do that and also have like text overlays, graphics, lower thirds. Like it has a lot of different formats for that already. And all of them are customizable. You can change colors, fonts, everything pretty easily. I do find it to be a little easier to work with than say Canva or Adobe Express for video recording in that sense. And I think with students who sort of already have an idea about Google Slides, manipulating scenes in Google Vids is not too much of an extra step. And I think they'll do great with that. The other killer thing with Google Vids that I do love is the stock footage. And so you can insert stock videos, photos. I think I said photos and videos at the same time. Sound effects, music, all of that. It gives you a searchable panel where you can search by content. You can search a subject. So in the demo I did, I actually just searched sea life and I got videos of fish. I got videos of dolphins that I could put into my vids. I got animated GIFs and stickers that I could also add into my vids. And then in terms of music and sound effects, I got sea life themed music and sound. So I got different sound effects of like bubbling or water or noises that different aquatic life make. And I got music that was particularly appropriate. So if you were making almost like a little documentary about a particular animal, like a dolphin or whale or what have you, you can find the stock footage of that there and just put it right in there. No issues at all. Like Adobe does have Adobe stock and they do have like access to that kind of stuff. But I felt like this was so easily searchable and so easily inserted into your vid that pretty much any level of student from elementary kind of on could do something fun with this, just having like the sound and stuff. You can get more advanced and you can get more advanced in their timeline and viewing like the different elements in your video and sort of adding timings and adding like when they come on and come off, like there's that. But then if you're just sort of building your scene and just using the default tools, like that's cool too. So everything has animations to it. You can add custom animations to your vids, to any of your projects. And it can also animate between scenes. So like Canva does that too, and Adobe Express. So they all kind of do. But what gets confusing, I think, with Canva and Adobe Express is that because it does all those other layouts and formats, that finding good video templates is a little more tricky. And so you might be searching for a while, or something you might see might be good at like the vertical level, maybe using it for social media, like that kind of formatting, but not necessarily in like a widescreen format. So from what I could tell, Google Vids is predominantly, it's just widescreen. So that sort of helps. So you don't have to worry too much about, are these videos that you're inserting, are they formatted correctly? Like, would it look good in the vid? And what's great is that you can play them as background. You can actually have like videos in your background and then put other elements on top of it. You can have these videos play full screen. You can have them like embedded into other things in your scene. So you can have them embedded in like a rectangle or like not full screen, and you have text kind of coming in as an explainer. So it's very versatile. If you're looking for something that's relatively easy to use, but also is pretty powerful, I like Google Vids, and I think students would embrace it as well. So where it compares to something like WeVideo, like the difference with WeVideo is that is a full-fledged video editor, and some of those features like do have a steep learning curve. And I love WeVideo, and I've been using it in classes for a long time, and some projects, really dovetail nicely with it. I have a Romeo and Juliet trailer project coming up, and we did an episode with Chris Ingram, our English teacher, who does that project with me in his classes every year, kind of talking about it. So I can link that, of course, in our show notes. But I could see suggesting to the kids that they use Google Vids for their trailer project. Most of the things that they would do are for the trailer is accessible in Google Vids, and it may be even easier to explain. We'll go back and forth. It may be an option, but I could see that kind of being a good replacement product, something that you might not need a full-fledged video editor to do. And this, again, is relatively easy to use. So at the younger levels, like in elementary, something like Google Vids, I think, would be a good step for those students to be able to kind of access it. So again, Google Vids is available in the professional level Google Workspace. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. So again, I'll go link my tutorial below. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up and get an episode out to everybody, and we'll see what happens next. I have a big plan kind of formulating for turning what I did at Visti into a series of video podcasts. Our students have been messing around with video podcasts right now. There's 2 episodes currently of a show called Reddit Reads with a recorded video and then also had the audio and put together, and there's another one coming up. There's one episode that's live. Sorry, there is a one video that's live, and there's one that's actually currently in the can. So I should correct myself there. But it's on the Lancer Media YouTube channel. You can kind of see some of the work that our students are doing, where they're sitting around this podcast table where I'm at right now, but we set up a video camera to also capture kind of that and start to embrace the video podcast world, because that's really big. It's big for them. So definitely get a chance, check it out. So I think that's about it for This Is Here. I will plug some of the socials that I have on Instagram and X or Twitter. I am at Lancer_EdTech. So that's LANCER_EdTech. Also on X, Twitter, whatever. I think Lancer_EdTech is also where I am on. Actually, no, on Blue Sky, I think there's no underscore. I believe I have to go back and look it off the top of my head. I gotta go double check that. But yes, you can also follow on the show itself. On YouTube, This Is Here Pod. That's where all these episodes are being posted. And the Gmail is thisisherepod@gmail.com if you want to send me a direct message. So again, I want to thank everybody for listening. If you happen to be Lily in France, ça va bien. And that's about it for this show. So thank you all again, and reach out. I do have some great stuff on the horizon, and I hope you get a chance to explore some Google Vids and maybe even reach out to your own local news organizations and see if they will work with your students. I think you'd be very surprised by how willing they are to share their knowledge and work with students on some of the art of storytelling. So, all right, I am Adam Schechter from Lewis High School saying adieu until next time. So see you all then.